Hey guys, it's Christian, Vancouver Realtor, and for today's video, I want this to be a motivational message, especially if you are a buyer or a renter out there and you've been thinking about getting into the market and you're concerned about prices being too high. Will you ever be able to make it into the housing market? Yes, if your desire is there, you will find a way. And I want to call this video the $1 Million Janitor, because I have seen people from all walks of life, all kinds of profession, be able to buy homes and make themselves self-made millionaires. By the way, most self-made millionaires in the lower mainland, over 90%, get there simply by owning a home, paying their own mortgage rather than someone else's, rather than paying their landlord's mortgage, which we call rent. So now, what I want to share with you a quick couple of stories to illustrate this. First, I got on the phone earlier this week and I was talking to a longtime client of mine. And we kind of chuckled and laughed on the phone because I said to her, do you remember how 5 years ago when we first spoke, you said to me, oh, you know what? I think it's over for me, Christian. I just don't think we'll ever be able to get into the market. And she kind of laughed at that because I ended up helping her buy a place. It was their first home, a principal residence. And 5 years on, I think the value of their home's gone up at least $200,000. Plus they've chipped away at the mortgage and have brought that down with the low rates. So it's amazing just by taking an action, a simple decision to own your own home and pay your own rent, how that creates so much wealth down the road for you. It really does snowball. And here's the best example of this I've seen. So I used to live downtown, and when we lived downtown, we had a wonderful janitor in our building, and just a class act. And the guy always had the biggest smile on his face, and he's just one of the hardest working guys and diligent. And I got to know him over the years, and he told me about how when he came to Canada, he was an immigrant and he'd come from Southeast Asia and basically was working two jobs. And I know one of them was as a janitor, and his wife was working as well. And in essence, like many immigrants, they're just working, saving as much as they can, and the moment they have enough for a down payment, that is the down payment on a house. And so they bought a house, I'm not sure when, but I think it would have been 2003, maybe 2004, early 2000s. And, they basically just went on about their life. They had a family, they're paying their mortgage, and about 8 years later, their realtor calls them and says, oh, by the way, just wanted to let you know the value of your house has gone up quite a bit, and you could take out the equity here and buy another one. And he told me, well, yeah. And he told his realtor, let's go do it. So they went out and they looked for a house. It was old, it's on a busy road, trucks rumbling down, nothing fancy, but it made perfect sense as a rental. And so he bought this older house, probably prettied it up with some fresh paint and so on, and just rented it out. And so the years go by, maybe another 8, 9 years go by, and at that point, the value of his home increases again. And now we're in the late 20 teens. And he was able to make a purchase on a condo. And so that's all I know. There may be more that this family has accumulated in their family real estate holdings. But the reason I share this story with you is that it applies to so many people. And that's how people in the lower mainland and many parts of North America really become millionaires. It's not through owning a business, although if you do that, good for you. Owning your own business, working for yourself as I do, it's very challenging. It's very demanding at times, but it's rare for people to be successful at it. It's a lot easier to become financially independent and free and be able to provide for your family by owning a home over the long run. Okay, but you got to give it time. And you normally see this after about 15, 20 years. And Vancouver's a special place for this because so many people want to be here and live here and move here. And so where people go, markets grow. Now, on that point, I wanted to tell you that, I mean, as a janitor, or that's not someone with an IQ of 145, and I think he would tell you the same. So the reason I'm sharing this story with you is I want you to understand that this is something that anybody can do. If you're watching this video, you can do it too. And there's no reason to be set back by pessimism that it's over for you or that the prices are too high. There is always a way, and you can reach out to me. You can contact me. I've got many more stories just like this that I can share with you of clients that I've worked with personally. On the other hand, there's people who are so intelligent. I mean, they have high IQs. They work as researchers at universities. I used to run with a lady like this, and just a good person and everything, but she's made the decision to rent for pretty much the rest of her life. And her income has been fairly good, I would say, above average. And if I were to go back, I've known her probably 12 years or more. And if she had made the decision at that point to purchase, just to pay her own mortgage instead of somebody else's, her landlord's, I mean, she'd be up by several $100,000 in the Lower Mainland. So, and that's just one decision, how one decision can affect your life. It's really incredible. So this is not an IQ thing. And it's not a thing that you necessarily have to have the best job either. You don't have to be a high-paid software engineer at Google to be buying a home downtown. You don't have to be a lawyer. You don't have to be a doctor. And I'll prove it to you. Okay, to show you how accessible homeownership is, what I wanted to do is just read out to you a list of occupations of homeowners. And what I did is I looked at Coquitlam, at the detached housing market in Coquitlam, and I randomly selected the different homes and looked on the title search. So the title search tells us obviously the property address, the owner's name, address, occupation, and gives us other information. But what I did is I took the actual occupation, I'm just going to share it with you, and then you be the judge of whether these are sort of highfalutin, high-paying jobs, or this is just a very regular job, and that these people are just like you and me. Okay, so here's some of the occupations I found. I found bartender and clerk. Okay, I found camera person and camera person, so that means both husband and wife are do the same. I found one is a plumber, homemaker, so that means a housewife, legal assistant, and auto body repairman. And then I found a library assistant and a program director. So those were 8 of the 15 title searches that I looked at. So very, very blue collar or very sort of simple jobs, if you ask me. And then we had a couple of managers, one business person, a millwright. So this is generally someone who installs machinery in factories. So I believe a more technically skilled person. Heating technician and another homemaker, which is a housewife. And then we had a investment analyst and manager. So that couple sounds like they may be both earning 6 figures. And then we had one person who was an accountant, alone on title. So obviously there are different types of occupations, a mix of white collar and blue collar. And the purpose is really to show you that, yes, you do not need to be, a software engineer at Amazon or Google. You can also claw and scratch your way into the housing market. It does take initiative on your part. It does take sitting down with your partner and really, setting down your goals on paper, and then making a plan in terms of how much you want to save every year. That does help. And then I think the second part to that is having the income. You both have to be working at the same time when you do speak to your broker and try to qualify, and because that's going to help you get a higher loan from the bank. And I think the third thing that a lot of people miss is you cannot have a lot of credit card debt, car loan debt. That's going to really hold you back, and you don't want to have that. So you have to get your financial house in order is what I would say. So look, if you've got questions or comments on this, or you just want to reach out to me personally, thinking about buying or selling, we've got our phone number in the comment section below, and you can check that out. And we'll see you next week.